Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we are diving into the ESTP personality type.
Ooh, exciting.
I know, right? A type known for its dynamism and action-oriented approach.
Yeah, those ESTPs always on the move.
Always. We've got some awesome insights from Personality NFT and a couple other personality resources to really unpack what makes ESTPs tick.
Awesome, can't wait. So, why is it important to understand ESTPs? How does it help us?
Well, you've probably met an ESTP before, maybe even without realizing it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They might be that friend who's always the life of the party. Or that colleague who just seems to thrive in high-pressure situations.
Right. So understanding ESTPs can give us insights into how they operate, how to better communicate with them.
Exactly.
And even recognize those awesome strengths they bring to the table.
Plus, they're known as the ultimate thrill seekers.
Oh, yeah, that's so true.
But they also have this surprising social intelligence.
Ah, interesting.
And this knack for leadership.
Okay, I'm hooked. Let's break down this ESTP thing.
Okay, so ESTP, it comes from the Myers-Briggs world, right?
It does, yep.
Can you give us a quick rundown of what that acronym actually stands for?
Of course. So ESTP stands for extroverted, sensing, thinking, perceiving.
Okay, and each of these preferences contributes to the ESTP's unique way of navigating the world.
Yeah, they all play a part.
So let's unpack them one by one.
That's good.
Starting with extroverted, what does that really mean in the context of an ESTP?
Well, for an ESTP, being extroverted means they gain energy from social interaction.
Well, they get energized by being around people.
Exactly. They love being around people, engaging in conversations.
Oh, so they're the ones who love those lively debates and discussions.
Exactly. And they often find themselves as the center of attention.
Huh. But not because they're actively seeking it out, right?
Right. It's more like their energy is just so infectious, people are naturally drawn to them.
It's like they have this natural charisma that pulls people in.
Exactly. And that brings us to sensing. This is all about how ESTPs gather information.
Okay, how do they take in the world around them?
They're very grounded in the present moment.
Okay, so very here and now.
Yes. And focused on concrete facts and details.
So less about abstract theories and more about what's right in front of them.
Exactly. They're all about what they can see, hear, touch, taste, smell.
The tangible world around them.
You got it. This makes them super observant, practical.
So not the type to get lost in daydreams.
Not really. They're too busy engaging with their immediate surroundings.
Got it. Okay, so they're extroverted and practical. What about the thinking part?
So thinking refers to how ESTPs make decisions.
Okay, so their decision-making process.
Yeah, they prioritize logic and objectivity over emotions.
Interesting.
They're all about analyzing a situation, weighing the pros and cons, and finding that most rational solution.
So not necessarily driven by feelings or gut instincts.
Not as much. They lean more on data and facts to guide them.
Okay. And this ties back to their sensing preference, right?
Absolutely. That's why they can process information so quickly and efficiently.
So it's like they have this built-in problem-solving radar.
You could say that. Remember that phrase we saw about ESTPs being the ones putting out fires, both literal and metaphorical?
Oh, yeah, that's so true.
That really captures their decisive nature.
I see it now. It makes sense why they're often described as resourceful and adaptable.
Exactly. They're not easily fazed by those unexpected challenges. They just roll with it.
Okay, last piece of the puzzle. Perceiving. How does that fit in?
So perceiving describes their approach to structure and planning.
Okay, how do they organize their lives?
Well, they value flexibility and spontaneity.
Ah, so not big planners then.
Not really. They much prefer going with the flow.
Interesting. So they like to keep their options open.
Absolutely. Adapting to new information as it comes, embracing those unexpected twists and turns.
So definitely not the type to have their week planned out in detail.
Nope, not at all. They thrive in environments where they can be adaptable and responsive.
Like they're the masters of improvisation.
Exactly. They don't get bogged down by strict deadlines or overly detailed plans.
That's so interesting because they are logical and practical, but also spontaneous. It's like this unique blend.
It is. And that combination is what makes them so dynamic and engaging.
Okay, so we've got this great overview of those basic ESTP traits.
Yeah.
But how do their minds actually work, like on a deeper level?
Good question. And that's where those cognitive functions come in.
Ooh, yes. I've heard of those. Are those like part of the ESTP puzzle?
They are. Cognitive functions help us understand how ESTPs process information, make decisions.
Okay, so like the inner workings of the ESTP mind.
Exactly. And this is where things get really interesting. Ready to dive into those cognitive functions.
I'm all ears. Lay it on me.
Okay, so for ESTPs, their dominant function is extroverted sensing.
Their dominant function.
Yep, meaning it's like their superpower.
Oh, cool.
And it basically means they're super tuned in to their immediate surroundings, constantly taking in information through their five senses.
Okay, so it's like if we were at a party right now, the ESTP would be the one noticing the music, the conversations, the food, everything.
Exactly. And not just noticing, but actively engaging with it all.
Ah, so they're not just passively observing.
Nope. They're drawn to action and experience.
So that's what makes them so present and adaptable.
It is.
Okay, but I thought they were thinkers. Doesn't that make them more analytical?
Great question. And that's where their auxiliary function comes in, introverted thinking.
Okay, introverted thinking.
Yep. This function works behind the scenes, helping them process all that sensory information in a logical way.
Ah, so they're not just soaking it all in, they're also analyzing it on the fly.
Exactly. It's like they have this internal system for filtering and categorizing all that data, figuring out how to respond.
That explains why they're such quick problem solvers.
Right. They see what needs to be done and boom, they do it.
And they're not afraid to take risks or make those split-second decisions.
Yeah. Exactly. Remember that leap before you look thing we talked about? That's introverted thinking and extroverted sensing working together.
Oh, wow, I see it. So fascinating how these functions all work together.
It is. So what about their other functions? We know there are four.
Yes. Fill me in.
Okay, so next is their tertiary function, extroverted feeling.
Extroverted feeling.
Yep. Now, even though ESTPs are thinkers, this feeling function still plays a role, especially in how they socialize.
So they're not just emotionless robots.
No, not at all. Extroverted feeling helps them understand the emotional atmosphere of a group.
So they can kind of sense the vibe
Yeah.
and adjust their behavior accordingly.
Right. And it's part of what makes them so charming and persuasive.
Like they can sense when someone needs a pep talk.
Exactly. They can read people well and use that to navigate those social situations.
It's a subtle side to them, but definitely still there.
For sure.
Okay, last function. Hit me with it.
Okay, this one can be a bit of a paradox for ESTPs.
Uh-oh. Paradox.
It's their inferior function, introverted intuition.
Inferior. Does that mean it's like their weakest link?
Not necessarily weak, just less developed.
Okay.
Especially when they're younger.
Gotcha.
Introverted intuition is all about looking beyond the surface, seeking patterns and insights, the big picture.
Okay, so it's like that gut feeling you get sometimes but can't explain.
Yeah, exactly. But ESTPs are all about the here and now.
Right. So how does that work with intuition, which seems more, I don't know, abstract?
Yeah, it can be a challenge for them. They might have these flashes of insight, but then dismiss them.
Because they can't back it up with concrete evidence.
Exactly. But as they mature, ESTPs can learn to trust their intuition more.
To use it to complement their logical decision-making.
Exactly. It becomes a powerful asset when it's balanced with their other functions.
So even though they're wired for action and practicality, they have this hidden intuitive side.
Absolutely. It's all about integrating those different parts of themselves.
Okay, so we've covered the ESTP's inner world. Now let's talk about how all of this translates into real life.
All right, let's do it.
Like, what are they like in relationships?
Well, remember, they're extroverted and they crave excitement.
Right.
So they're drawn to partners who can keep up with their adventurous spirit, someone who's willing to try new things.
Okay, so not the stay-at-home and watch movies type.
Haha, definitely not. ESTPs bring that same energy and enthusiasm to their romantic relationships.
But what about commitment? I mean, they seem so focused on the present. Does that ever cause problems?
It can. Because of that perceiving preference, they can be hesitant to close off possibilities.
So they're worried about feeling trapped.
Yeah, it's not that they don't want love or commitment, but they need to feel that freedom to explore.
So it's about finding a partner who understands that, right?
Exactly. Open communication is key.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about careers. I imagine ESTPs thriving in those fast-paced environments where they can put their problem-solving skills to use.
Oh, absolutely. Remember those fires they love to put out? Well, that translates really well into their professional lives.
So what kind of jobs are we talking about here?
Well, entrepreneurship is a popular one.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
They have that natural drive, that risk-taking ability.
You leap before you look mentality.
Exactly. What other fields do you think might appeal to them?
Well, they're charming and persuasive, so maybe sales or marketing.
You got it. They're great at building relationships and closing deals.
Plus, they can handle the pressure that comes with those fast-paced sales environments.
Totally. And we see them in skilled trades a lot, too.
Oh, interesting, like mechanics or electricians.
Exactly. They love working with their hands, figuring out how things work.
It's like they're sensing preference in action.
It is.
Yeah.
And we can't forget about careers that involve helping others in high-pressure situations.
Oh, right, like EMTs or firefighters.
Exactly. They can make a difference, use their quick thinking, and, yeah, get that adrenaline rush.
So it's like a combination of wanting to be helpful
Yeah,
and also craving excitement.
you got it. Their courage and decisiveness, it makes them super valuable in those fields.
Okay, so we've established that ESTPs are adaptable, action-oriented, and thrive in those dynamic settings.
Yep.
But what are some of the challenges they might face in their personal and professional lives?
Well, one challenge can be their impulsivity.
Oh, because they're so quick to act.
Exactly. They might not always think through the consequences.
So it's like they need to tap into their introverted thinking a bit more.
Exactly. Learning to develop those planning skills can be helpful for them.
And I've read that they can sometimes come across as insensitive, especially to those who are more feeling-oriented. Why might that be?
Yeah, well, remember their thinking preference.
Yeah, they prioritize logic over emotions.
Right, and that can sometimes make them seem blunt or dismissive of others' feelings.
Like they might miss those subtle emotional cues.
Exactly. But developing their emotional intelligence can really help them in those situations.
I thought it might be fun to shine the spotlight on some famous people who are often typed as ESTPs.
Oh, I love this part. It helps bring it all to life, you know?
Exactly, like actors Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Angelina Jolie, and Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, great example.
Singer Madonna, former U.S. President Donald Trump, and even Winston Churchill.
Wow, that's quite a diverse group.
It is. But they all seem to share that core ESTP energy.
That drive, charisma, that ability to command attention.
And they all have that action-oriented approach to life, whether it's taking on challenging roles or making bold decisions.
Totally. They embody that leap before you look mentality.
And they have that magnetism that draws people in.
For sure.
I actually came across a quote from Winston Churchill that I think really captures the ESTP spirit.
Ooh, what is it?
He once said, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts."
That is so fitting.
And another quote that stood out to me was from Madonna.
Okay, let's hear it.
She once said, "I'm tough, I'm ambitious, and I know exactly what I want. If that makes me a bitch, okay."
Classic ESTP. It speaks to their confidence and their willingness to challenge those conventions.
So what does all of this mean? Why is it valuable for us to understand the ESTP personality type?
Understanding the ESTP can be incredibly valuable in so many areas of life.
Like in the workplace.
Exactly. If you work with an ESTP, understanding their need for action and direct communication can help you collaborate better.
And in relationships.
Absolutely. Knowing how they approach commitment and their need for spontaneity can help build a stronger partnership.
It's about meeting them where they are, respecting their individuality.
Exactly. Understanding the ESTP is not about putting people into boxes. It's about appreciating the diverse ways people interact with the world.
It's about recognizing that each personality type has its own strengths.
And its own challenges.
Exactly. Given their preference for action and their comfort in dealing with the tangible, how might an ESTP approach personal growth or self-reflection?
That's a great question. It's true that ESTPs, with their focus on the here and now, might not naturally gravitate towards introspection or deep self-analysis.
Right, it seems like those concepts might be a bit outside their usual comfort zone.
They might be, but that doesn't mean they're incapable of personal growth.
So how can they tap into that potential for growth?
Well, for ESTPs, personal growth often comes through action and experience.
So learning by doing.
Exactly. By trying new things, by pushing those boundaries.
So instead of journaling or reflecting on their emotions, they'd be more likely to sign up for that challenging adventure race.
Exactly. It's about finding opportunities to learn through active engagement.
So it's about finding those approaches to personal growth that align with their strengths.
Precisely. And as they mature, they might find themselves becoming more open to introspection.
But they'll likely still approach it in a practical way.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, from the core traits and cognitive functions to their strengths and challenges.
It's been a fascinating journey for sure.
And I hope our listeners have gained a deeper understanding of this personality type and the valuable contributions they make to our world.
Me too.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's a final thought for you to ponder.
Okay, I'm ready.
Knowing how ESTPs thrive in fast-paced environments, how could you apply this knowledge to teamwork or collaboration?
That's a great question to consider.
And how might you tap into an ESTP's strengths to achieve a common goal?
It's all about understanding and appreciating those unique gifts that each personality type brings.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of the ESTP.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep embracing the fascinating world of personality.